Hi guys, this is Daniel Alexander Cannon here again on the Supernatural Show, where we tell the truth about the supernatural happenings all around our world. And today we have another special guest that's here to tell us about the supernatural happenings that have happened in her life. And her name is Deborah. And of course, we have our lovely co-host in the house today as well, Shannon with Soul 7. Shannon, as we say, what in the supernatural is going on with you?
Well, I was just informed that there was a plane crash over near you, over in Myrtle Beach area, but praise Jesus,
Really?
everybody is okay. They were sent to the hospital and able to go home afterwards, so nobody was truly hurt. So that's supernatural.
What kind of an airplane?
I'm not sure. I think it was a small charter type plane, according to my source, which is actually in the same room with you.
Sounds like maybe they had more of a crash landing kind of thing, maybe, hopefully.
No, from what I understand, debris everywhere. And
really?
Yeah. Praise Jesus, nobody was hurt. That's quite supernatural.
That is, especially if they actually crashed. That's okay. Well, Dan, can you top that?
I wouldn't try. Like I said, the only thing I've got going on that this morning was I was removing those stone stacks, and they had behind one of them on a tree stump a toroidal shape with small white rocks.
You might want to have to explain to the viewers what a stone stack is and why that.
I'm trying to remember the name of it. It begins with a C. Wiccans use them, New Age people use them, Black Magic people use them for various different reasons. But in this case, they seem to try and put them almost to look like a, what's the shape I'm thinking of? The Washington Monument.
So a phallic symbol?
Well, yeah. An obelisk is what I was trying to remember.
Obelisk, yeah.
And those are generally made to gather power. However, if this is a toroidal shape, which is trying to open a portal, there's going to have to be a whole lot more done than just some white rocks put there.
Right.
But I found that interesting.
Yeah, these days we have a lot of people playing with a lot of things. I mean, I think in this world, I've been at this for quite a while, and I think that there's a lot of things that people look at that the occult do, and they're doing it for wicked reasons. Typically, it's what they're doing. We just lost Deborah. Text Deborah and tell her just to click on the link again. So we'll get Deborah back here in just a second, but. Oh, there she comes. I think that's her back. Yep, let me bring her back in. Well, I thought we lost you there for a second, Deborah, but I think you figured out just to click on the link again.
Yeah, I was trying to adjust the volume.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. I've made every mistake there is, and I'll find another one to make before the show's over with, probably. But I was saying, there's a lot of these practices people do that witches and people, all types of different religious orders, you might try to use and use the power of the world and of the earth. And I've come more to understand it's about the intent. That if the intent is wicked or foul, then that is bad. But there are things that we can use that are good. It brings to mind for me actually a couple of verses from the Bible. Actually, matter of fact, let me show it real quick. And Deborah, we're going to be coming to you in just a minute here, and
Okay.
But and because we're excited to hear your story. But let me share my screen real quick if I can. Let's see here, because I've actually got the 2 verses I'm thinking about on the website, and I can pull it right up here. Here we go. I think y'all guys will find this interesting, and it'll kind of throw you off a little bit, but it's related to what I'm talking about. Yeah, here we are. There we go. Okay, so we're on the TheSupernatural.Show website, and we're on the page that's called Daniel's Art Garden, which is a project that I and also maybe Shannon is going to try to do in building what I call an arc garden. It's based on the knowledge of how energy flows in this world. And when I show you these couple of verses, you can think, is he trying to do witchcraft? Is he trying to? It's about intent, okay? But let me go down to these verses here. This is Numbers 21:8 out of King James, and it says, "And the Lord said unto Moses, Make thee a fiery serpent, and set it upon a pole. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is bitten by these serpents that were running around everywhere biting people, says, when he looketh upon it, shall live." So, and in different translations, it says that it can be used for healing, meaning the pole with the serpent wrapped around it. And of course, that makes me think of the ambulances and the medical industry. But are they truly using that for good or evil? And I would say there is some good there, but at this late date in our times, a lot of the medical industry is basically the white horse, as I call it, out of Revelation 6. The white horse, the ones that run around in the white coats and the white jacket, and they're all pure, and they're there to help you and save you. But they'll fill your pill bottles full of everything and cause all kind of problems in your life and destroy you and kill you if you allow them to do that kind of thing. But yet, if you get a broke arm, you can go down there and get your arm fixed, and that is a good thing. So it's about intent. So let's go back to the verse here for a second. And it says, let me read it again. "And the Lord said unto Moses," and this was when Moses was dealing with the Pharaoh and dealing with the Israelites, and he had caused a plague of serpents to come out on the land. And they were biting the Israelites and biting everybody. And they come to Moses and said, "Please pray to God and ask him to stop this." And so the Lord said unto Moses, "Make thee a fiery serpent, and set it upon a pole. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is bitten, when he looketh upon it, shall live." And I just find that pretty fascinating. If you look it up and stuff, it's he built like a brass serpent and wrapped it around a pole and rose it up, you know. And then there is a verse in John 3:14 where Christ spoke, and he said, "And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up." And and of course, when he says, "And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness," is referring to a healing attribute of what the knowledge of some of this can be. It can be good or evil. And so there's a lot of things, just like I would say stone stacking and all these other things. My question is what is the intent? Who did it? What is the fruit thereof? And, you know, of course, if you just find this on the side of the road, you wouldn't know. But I suspect Dan probably has some clue as to who these people are that's doing this, actually. And when I talk about my art garden, the reason why this is on the art garden page is because one of the things, in order to build an art garden, you have to understand a lot of things that I've talked about on this show, and I can't go through them all right here, right now. But if you come here on this page on Daniel's Art Garden, you can click here where it says read more. And I've explained a lot more of it here for you to understand about it. And I'm going to be adding more to it. So you'd want to check back from time to time and see the whole story will unfold over time. But in order to have an art garden, you have to create something that you're trying to create something that's in the image of the garden, basically, is what you're doing. The garden that had 2 trees, it had 2 poles, and they were in the midst of the garden. And if you take 2 poles, let's just say they're wood, tree, and you take a copper wire and you wind it around that pole, and you go down to the bottom and you dig a hole and you run that pole down in the ground, and then you drive that wire all the way down as far as you can and get into the water table. And then you take that wire that's wound with the copper wire round around that pole all the way to the top, and then leave a part of it sticking up above the top. Sorry, my computer kind of bugged out on me there for a second. Whoops, I didn't mean to take that off. Anyways, so you wind it around, you have a piece sticking out the top up into the air, and you have a piece in the bottom going into the ground. That's one pole. You take another pole and you do the same thing. And what it does is it creates 2 toroidal energy fields that pull the energy out of the heavens, out of the sky, into and energize the earth, the ground that is around these 2 toroidal poles. And in the middle of the 2 toroidal poles, you're going to have, just like our eyes are toroidal imagery, okay? You have an eye just like the eye of a storm. You have the pupil. I mean, I can get all into it, but I'm going to try to keep it short here. And we'll get really into it at some point. But in between the 2 poles, you have what's called, where they overlap, the energy fields overlap, it creates a vesica Pisces, if you know what that shape is. It's a point of creation. And if you have that point of creation in the center of the 2 poles, that point area in the middle there is where you want your greenhouse, or it's where you want to put things that you want to have to grow the most and be the most productive, is in that vesica Pisces in the middle. Am I making any sense, Shannon?
Yeah, it's very it's what Tesla was trying to create as well.
Yeah, it's related to the Tesla coil. It's why Tesla had his tower built with the wiring and all that going way down into the ground, into the water, because you want to get it into the water. And
Tesla mentions that he got his inspiration from the book of Matthew in the Bible. So I'd like to go over that code, because there's some kind of code within that he had gotten his inspiration of all this stuff.
We need to look into that. Mm-hmm. Let's make sure we do that, Shannon, because we need as great an understanding as what we can. And of course, our intent with using this is good. It's not evil. We're trying to produce food for my family and for families around here that is non-GMO, that is not grocery store stuff, because we really truly don't know for sure when we're buying something from the grocery store what it is. So, we really don't know for sure. So, let's make sure we get into that. And of course, as we start doing videos for the art garden, and we hope y'all guys will go there and check that page out. And we're also hoping that y'all guys will maybe consider a donation, because to be quite honest, it may sound, it is what it is, but Shannon and I and Dan, we're not rich people at all. We live very humbly. Dan lives very, very humbly. And we would appreciate your assistance in helping us be able to make this garden happen. And so that I can demonstrate what Father has shown me and helped me understand about how to make the garden grow and how to produce enormous amounts of food. Not only that, I'm going to take each vegetable, each fruit, and I'm going to tell you exactly and explain to you how our Father supernaturally labeled the food. Like, for instance, giving an example I use quite often is a walnut. Okay. A walnut is grown in the head of the tree, in the crown of the tree. It is shaped and looks like a head. And if you crack it open, what do you see in there? You got a brain in there. And what is it saying to us that is good for? Well, it's in the crown, the head of the tree, grows way up at the top, and it looks like a brain. Now, if you go and look up what walnuts are good for and do a little study, and you'll find out that they are medicine, natural, God-given medicine for the brain. The same thing applies to all other fruits and vegetables if they are natural and not an abomination, which is GMO foods. Genetically modifieds are an abomination, and you do not want them in your body. So that's what the garden's all about. And Dan, you started all that rant just over talking about stacking some rocks. Man, what are you trying to do to me?
Throw me under the bus.
Oh, sorry about it. It happens sometimes. Miss Deborah, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing great. Doing great. I'm so excited to finally have you here. I know you wrote in a long time ago and just took me a while to get things going and lined up and a little bit of help and but now you're finally here and I greatly appreciate you coming on here, and I want you to know, like I said earlier, you're among friends and you can tell the truth, and there's no one here that's going to think you're crazy. So I want to hear anything that you've got to tell us about your experiences in your life or things that you've witnessed or whatever it is, whatever you want to talk about. Because I really don't know, other than I know you wrote in one time and we've probably read one of your stories live on one of the shows. But so with that being said, Miss Deborah, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, the first thing I want to say is the fact that you brought up the bronze snake that was raised up in the desert. That's what we're going to be talking about, that sort of thing today. And my mind is kind of blown that you started out with that. That's mind-boggling.
Supernatural.
It's supernatural, Deborah.
It is. It is. And then another supernatural thing happened. I'll tell you about it. But first, I want to really thank you so much because, when I started watching you, your wisdom just amazes me. It just amazes me all the time. Do you still see me?
Yep.
Um,
Might have to touch your mouse every once in a while just to keep your monitor active.
Oh, okay. Okay. But I just want to thank you for the work you're doing. And Father's told me he's really, really pleased with all the work you're doing. And I know that this has been a long journey for you, and it took a lot of hard work. I want to let people know a while back, I was praying for Daniel, and the Lord called him a fireman. I'm like, I don't know that he's a fireman. And then I sat and thought about it, and firemen do what Daniel's doing. They run into the fire at any cost and get people out, right? That's who you are, Daniel. You're my favorite fireman. So.
Yeah, most people would think getting on the internet like this and talking and telling the truth, they get scared. They're afraid of what might happen, and so you could say we're actually all got a little bit of fireman in us, including you.
I guess so. Yeah. But so, anyways, first I want to give glory to our Father in heaven and Jesus Christ, our Lord. who is our only hope for salvation. And many still do not understand that, or they just have dead ears and refuse to listen to it. But I want to talk to you today about a vision that I had in 2014. And I'm going to have you pull up the horse so that people can see the portrait of the horse.
Okay. Let
If
me
you can
get that. Yeah, I've got it here. Let me see how I've got what I have to do in order to actually make it pull up. Yeah, here we go. There's the horse.
Okay, you got it. Okay. So, anyways, this is back in 2014, and like I told you guys before, God had been talking to me since.
Let me share the screen so that way people can see. I can see it, but y'all guys can't. Let me pull it up here. There we go. Y'all guys see it okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So go ahead, Deborah.
Okay, so the Lord and Father have been talking to me on and off throughout my life and showing me things. And I was close to him when I was young, but after high school, I started living in the world and I wasn't doing things right. I lived in sin. I did all sorts of things like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I ran into a lot of troubles in my life, and a lot of bad stuff happened. So for years, I was trying to come back to Father and the Lord, and he was just ignoring me. Okay, so this is an evening in February 2014, and I had been seeking him for a long time. And this one night, I said, "You know what, Father, Jesus, this is it. If you don't talk to me now, I don't know what to tell you. Are you rejecting me? What are you doing?" So I stayed in prayer through that night, asking him to come back to me and allow me to hear him again. And so I was in prayer all that night, and in the morning, I woke up in the morning, and this was early February of 2014. And so I got coffee, and I'm sitting at my kitchen, and I'm looking out the window, and I had asked him for a sign of agreement that he was going to let me back in and speaking to him, and of course I came into repentance. That's extremely important. But I'm sitting there with my coffee and I'm looking out the window, and what do I see? And it's a beautiful day. There's not a cloud in the sky. And I see a rainbow, but it's in the shape of a door. I'm going, wow, that's him. He's giving me a sign of agreement. And so I'm looking at it. I'm like, I can't believe it. That is awesome. And then things began to happen. Then I saw that horse. That horse came out of the rainbow. It came out of the rainbow, and let me pull it up so you can see it. Yes, it came out through that door. And when it came out through that door, it had a rider on it, but I'll talk about him in a minute. The horse came through 4 veils. It came through the rainbow. It came through a veil of silver, a veil of bronze, silver, and gold. And when the horse went through these 4 veils, it was like on fire. It had to be very hot, and it melted through all of these metallic materials and broke through these veils. And
That you were seeing in the sky when you were looking at the rainbow.
I saw this in the sky. Yes, okay. And in the picture that was done, I did this with AI. AI knows scripture, and it knows, it understands everything that you're telling it. It knows scripture better than we do. And what it did was it had all of the metals and the rainbow and the bronze, silver, and gold clinging to the horse.
Okay.
And the horse had a rider on it. Sorry. The horse had a rider.
If you need some water or something, you can
Yeah,
take
I have something.
get some. Yeah, go ahead. It's okay.
The horse had a rider on it. He was dressed in black and white, and he had a scarf around his head. And he was riding into war on this horse. And he just flew across the sky, raging with his fist in the air. This was the Rainbow People, BLM, and all of the, when you urge metals and refine them and purify them.
So you're saying that you felt the symbolism was related to the Rainbow People.
Yes, I'm positive. And the rider was dressed in black and white and with the scarf on his head, riding into war. And we are at war with this agenda that they're doing because it's all dark. It's all dark. But I had no idea. No one ever heard of this agenda back in 2014.
And this was in 2014?
Yes, this was in 2014.
Before they really leaned on it and started pushing the rainbow, the blaspheming of God's covenant, his sign of his covenant. So yeah, I know what you mean.
Yes, and when I saw this happen, I was on the floor. I was like a piece of meat in the corner. I'm like, I couldn't make any sense out of it. I don't understand what's happening. So then I got myself together and I got up and I started seeing chemtrails back then. And I looked back out the window and there seems to be chemtrails layering parallel with the ground. And I'm going, what in the world? And now it's in cloud, okay? It's in cloud. And I see these beams, it's a stairway. And I see these beams coming up and down this stairwell of clouds. But they're people, but they're covered in cloud. I can see they're people, but they're covered in cloud. And they keep ascending and descending on this stairwell. And wow, let me tell you, it was something else. So I was looking above there, and I could see these people in cloud, standing on the clouds. I believe that's a reference to God's people in rapture.
Uh-huh.
And,
what do you think about the people going up, and you said up and down the stairs?
Yes.
Okay, what did you feel like that was?
Angels coming down, and I think that was a reference to rapture.
Okay.
I think that the rapture, I feel like the rapture is going to happen after that, but I still don't know when that's going to be. But okay, so anyways, I saw people on the clouds, but I can't see the people. I can only see the shape of them, and they're covered in cloud. And so now I'm still looking, and I'm still seeing clouds, and God shows up in cloud. That's called Shekinah glory, and that's how he showed up to the tribe of to the tribe of the Israelites.
Yeah, he shows up in a whirlwind. He appears inside of a whirlwind, a toroidal whirlwind is where he shows himself, and it's where he speaks from, and it's in his image. It's in the image of our entire world, and in the image of heaven and earth. Is that what you're talking about there, the cloud?
Yes.
Were the clouds doing anything particularly so far as movement, or?
In a minute, they were just big pillowy clouds were showing up, and I saw people standing on the clouds.
And this rainbow that you've seen that looked more like a door, were these people coming and going through that door?
No.
Okay.
They were the rainbow represents the agenda that's been released. It was
Okay.
released in 2020.
I can see that because they definitely are using the rainbow as a defiant thing. They like to use God's images, God's words, God's everything, and of course, use it against him.
Yes.
On an ongoing basis, obviously. So keep going.
Okay, so after this, I started seeing a creature in cloud, and it was like a giant grasshopper or a praying mantis in cloud, and it was massive. And I'm going to tie all this together in a minute. And it had like a woman in white in its jaws trying to kill her. Like she represents like the bride, is what I feel like.
Okay.
That's what their agenda was, to destroy the bride.
Well, you hear they always are saying, they use the word together. They're always saying that word over and over in a lot of their messaging. And what it is it means to them, it means to get her. That's why they keep using that word so much. And I use it, and of course all of us use it, and I use it in a little bit of the credits and stuff and things that we do, but it doesn't mean to get her. It's the intent that matters, of course. Dan's already starting to have problems again. Dan, can you hear us okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, like I said, you and Shannon can jump in and ask questions or make comments or anything at any point. So don't hold back, And,
I'm just intently listening to this story. So
I'm like thinking, man, if I ever went outside and seen this, I'd think it was a rapture or something, or this is a pretty intense description of something that you've seen in the heavens. Were you alone there, Deborah, when you seen this?
Yes, I was. See, I asked him to show up, but I was not expecting that. Okay.
Yeah, he really decided to show up.
Yes, he did. It was really
Deborah,
scary.
how long have you been having vision?
I think it really started then, but I didn't start having, just in dreams mostly. But that's how he talks to me, usually in dreams. But yesterday, he gave me an explanation to a lot of this. And the grasshopper thing that I saw in the cloud is reference to the green god. But first I need to go to the metals that I was shown, the veils that the horse pierced through. And I'm about to do that right now. So as you see, the horse is covered with gloss because he's a fiery horse. He went through the veils of the bronze, silver, gold, and the rainbow, and everything clung to him. And everything on the horse is dross. All the impurities burnt away and stayed on the horse, and the horse kept going forward into war. But it's not going to work out the way they think.
Well, I know that they're certainly going to use the rainbow agenda, as we might call it, for lack of better words. And of course it's tied directly to transhumanism and the fact that ultimately what has happened with a lot of these people is that their DNA has been altered via numerous methods, including, the snake bite method, with the things that look like a bow when you pull them back and push them forward. Try not to say nothing too descriptive, because there's always an AI listening to YouTube, at least. And but I know that they're not done with that plan. They've set it up over the last couple of years, and they've been pushing it, but they're not done with it, and they have a plan of how they're going to use this agenda and these people. I think we lost Shannon, but they're going to use these people, and it's interesting to hear you talking about it. Oh, Shannon's just taking a break. How they're going to use these people, and it's interesting you bring this up, and I'm trying to figure out and listen to you and see if maybe you can tell me what you think so far as what the plan is. I don't know if you were able to discern any of that at all out of the vision you had.
Well, their plan isn't going to work. Have you ever noticed how everything they try to do, it generally falls apart?
A lot of times, yeah.
A lot of times it does. So these people are not going to win. Not against our Father. Not against
No.
But I want to talk to you about yesterday, God revealed to me all of this information about these veils and the metals. There's even metals in the book of Enoch and mountains of metals in the book of Enoch. But,
and the metals are way more important than people realize. Understanding the metals and what their role and how they play a role in this world and even in our lives. But yeah, go ahead, Deborah.
Oh, okay. So yesterday, I'm like, what do you want me to say, Father? So I stayed in prayer, and he began to speak to me, and he wanted me to investigate these veils of metals. So I began to do some research, and let's start with the silver. Silver represents the body of Christ and the kingdom of heaven, and it's 92.5% silver and 7.5% copper. Okay, to get purified silver, you have to put it in the hottest place of the fire till it's purified 7 times. So the person that's purifying the silver, they have to stay with the silver, and they have to keep it in the hottest place of the fire set till it's purified 7 times. And the only way that the person forging the silver knows that it's purified is because they can see their own reflection in the silver. And so that's what Father does. He's going to purify.
I actually do know a little bit about the purification process of metals and stuff. So yeah, you're right. You have to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And you have to do it how many times did you say? 7?
7 times until the maker of the silver can see his own reflection.
So to see his image, he has to be refined 7 times.
He has to see his own image in you.
Well, see, when it took 7 days, the 7 days of creation, or 6 or 7, according to how you look at it. But, the 7 days of creation, it's interesting that, and he built everything in his own image, and there's 7 days to it, and it's interesting that matches up with what you're saying. So yeah, keep going.
7 is the number of perfection.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, he's in the process of purifying us right now. We're going through some stuff. We're right in the getting close to the middle of the fire now. Okay? And we're going to go through some stuff. A lot of people don't believe that we're going to go through troubles, but we are. We already are.
You can't get the weed out of the field without thrashing it.
Right. So Father's going to stay with us during this purification process until he can see, his reflection in us is what he's saying. Now, I want to go to all the metals. Okay, silver, it represents the kingdom, and gold. It's a standard by which things are judged as a point of value. It represents divinity. and it represents Jesus and the bride. And we are called to praise Jehovah, is what I found. Now, the bronze, okay, the temples of God were filled with bronze. As a matter of fact, before they entered the temple, they had to wash their hands. The priests had to wash their hands in bronze basins. And it was kept near the place of sacrifice. So bronze represent righteous judgment because our country has,
Well,
the world hasn't been listening to God.
the serpent that was raised up on the pole was said to have been of bronze.
Yes, he was a bronze serpent representing the Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he
So,
referred to himself similarly as the serpent being raised up on a bronze, being raised up like that, being made out of bronze.
yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I've read somewhere that when Jesus comes back, he's going to set his bronze feet on Temple Mount.
It does refer to his feet being of bronze a lot, or the appearance of bronze.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're like on fire, kind
Yeah.
of thing.
That's his image. He's like, where is that? I don't have that handy. That, his hair is white as wool, and his eyes were fire flame, and he had the appearance of fire.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, I want to go here. Wait. Yeah. All of the vessels, before the priests were allowed to enter the temple, they had to wash in these bronze basins. It was a cleansing ritual they had to go through before they went in to do any sort of sacrifice or anything like that. And here it is. And Isaiah said, God goes before you and will break down the gates of bronze and cut through the bars, meaning he's going to resolve all of our problems through Jesus. That's his divinity is also represented in bronze.
Right.
So,
And this is all part of, you're talking about these metals and such, because this is related to the vision that you've seen in the heavens, right?
yes. Mm-hmm.
Would you say it was a vision, or would you say it was a manifestation that was appeared to
It
be
was
real?
so real. I mean, I crumbled to the floor. I didn't even know what to do, and I just didn't even learn what it meant until yesterday, when I started going on this journey with these metals. And then I saw in the book of Enoch that there are mountains of metals in the book of Enoch also.
Mm-hmm.
And
There's in this world where there's huge amounts, just solid metals under the earth.
yes. So
Most
these
people don't
are
realize.
the divinity of God. Now I want to talk about let me find that. Okay. Remember when I talked about, I saw the grasshopper,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you mix all of these metals together, they come up with something called green gold. It's fake gold. It's not real. And the obelisks of Egypt, they covered them with this green gold. Okay. And the grasshopper is represented by a green god called Tihonus. He's a Greek god. He was turned into a grasshopper by the god of, they're mostly green gods. These ones that they worship, Eros was in love with Tithonus. He was a Greek god. He was the son of the king of Troy, and he was worshipped as a deity. And all this was represented by the green god in Greek mythology. And in Egypt, they use the green gold. All of that is all fake. It's all fake. None of it's real. Not to God.
I am
It's
so
rejected
sorry.
silver.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, guys, but I have to get going because I have to work right now. I'm really bummed because I want to hear the rest of this, but I'm going to be playing it while I'm working. So I love you all. Thank you, Deborah, for coming on.
Thank you.
I wish I want to ask more questions, but maybe I can chat while
Okay.
but
Well,
you
yeah,
are awesome. What?
you can, if you want to, chat or whatever, or text me or whatever. If you got something, Shannon, you wanted to contribute or whatever. But
Love
yeah,
you guys.
yeah.
Blessings, Miss Shannon.
Wonderful day, and
We'll
thank
see
you
you
for
later.
doing our show. Sorry to interrupt you, Deborah. You just keep going.
Oh, okay. So, anyways, when you mix the gold, bronze, and silver, it comes out as this green gold. It's rose colored, but it's called green gold. And this god Tithonus was in love with Eros. She was the god of eternal life. Okay, and this is who they worshipped, and they worshipped him. And she fell in love with him, and she cast a spell on him to give him eternal life, but she forgot to ask to make him beautiful for eternal life. And so he got old, and she didn't like the way he looked, so she turned him into a grasshopper, a green grasshopper, or a cicada, or a praying mantis, something like that. And this green god is very evil. It is a cup of devils. If you drink from the cup, you're involving yourself into demonic entities. And I looked something up, and amazingly, as I'm looking up this stuff about the green gods, not only did you mention the bronze serpent, but now I'm looking, and these guys, they're researchers, and they are having a program on the green god, the cup of devils, tomorrow. I'm going, I got to see that. You guys really need to look at that. But so anyways, I started looking into this.
And a lot of the stuff that you're referring to was like Greek mythology, right?
Yeah, but Egyptian also, and Celtic, leprechauns, all these mythical things, they came right out of Tartaria. They came down from Tartaria and just migrated all over. And some of them became the Ashkenazi Jews, that came in, the ones who were not really Jews, not Jews of the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
My family comes from that, but before they came to this country, they converted to Christianity. In other words, they were Messianic Jews.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandfather escaped the Holocaust, and that's the only reason he was able to escape the Holocaust. 6 million Jews were murdered during that time period, and that's the only reason I'm here today, and my family is still here. But getting back to this,
so help us understand. Can you bring the story together a little bit for us so we can understand the overall picture of what you? Because I know you're trying to explain what the different elements of the vision meant, right?
Yeah.
Different. That you're not okay. I'm confused then.
Oh, no, I'm just saying that this was a vision that the Lord gave me, but he's going to be with us through this whole thing. Because remember, he said that when the creator of the silver forges the silver 7 times, he stays with the silver no matter how bad it gets, and all the dross that's not good and not pure, it falls into the fire. is
Right.
what.
All of the whatever isn't silver. Right.
Yes. Yes.
And so you're referring to the refinement process, obviously referring to us as a people in the refinement process.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
But no matter what we go through here, he's going to be with us and he's going to help us.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's with us
No,
right now, as a matter of fact.
he's not going to leave us at all. So I'm just trying to go through the rest of the vision because of this green grasshopper, referring to the green god. And this is a really dark entity. Okay, this is like, okay, there's been stories written about this green god, and it's just underworld demons. And what the green god does is God wants people to be aware, and to repent and come back to him. He wants them to be aware that these things exist and to stay away from them, these sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so the green god appears as a giant head in one story, and it's comprised of vegetable matter. And what are they doing with our vegetables, right? And it's capable of sending out lengthy vines and appendages. And it ensnares its victims and offers itself as communion to a degenerate group of mutants that worship it. Then that's who we're dealing with right now, I think. These people that are doing this to our food supply, that they're working on destroying God's people. And it's all about them trying to destroy us, but it's not going to be allowed. And because God is with us, and we know that rapture is coming, I think in the Bible it says that it doesn't happen until after his 1,000-year reign. So I'm wondering, this must be his 1,000-year reign, that he's reigning from his throne in heaven. Because look how many people are having these dreams and visions. It's not just me, it's many, many people are having.
Right. Absolutely.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I bet you've had some of those, right?
Oh, I've had a lot of, yeah. Some of which I've talked about before on the show here. All right. So can you, is the vision that you had of seeing this stuff going on in the heavens before, is that the only like vision or supernatural kind of thing that you had happen to you before, Deborah?
No, I had a lot of other things too. I want to tell you about, okay, well, back when I was a little kid, right? This is a near-death experience. Satan tried to kill me at least 3 times after this. In the 60s, I'm like 10 years old, right? This is about 1967. And, we didn't have any of the stuff we have today. So what we had was like board games, right? So my friend's mom would buy tons of board games. And she had a Ouija board, and we played with it, okay? And we did not know what that was.
Right.
No one knew what that was. So we asked it a bunch of questions, and so I thought it was a game. We all thought it was a game.
What was the shape of the Ouija board thing? What was the shape of the thing that you put your hand on? What shape was that, Dan? Remember?
It's like an arrow type looking thing.
Okay.
A triangle.
Sort of a triangle, yes.
And if where you actually put your fingers, sometimes it would be a crystal, sometimes it'd be a hole, or sometimes just a place for your finger to fit. But it's amazing that you're looking at an all-seeing eye and you're asking questions of a Ouija board.
I know. Well, we were kids, we didn't know. So anyways,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. So, anyways, we had played this game and we had asked it questions. And like I asked it, this is terrible. I said, if you know everything, when am I going to die? And so I'm 10, I don't know. It said, it gave me this number, 2225. And in Strong's Concordance, it says that 2225 refers to the lifting up. In other words, referring to rapture, but I didn't know that. I thought it was a date. If it is a date, it's February 2nd, 2025.
You said 2225?
2225.
Oh, 2225. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would want to ask questions like that of a Ouija board, because you're speaking to the demonic side, and if you make an agreement with that and believe that that's actually the date, then you'll be dead on that date.
I know, right? I'm not trying. I've been a
want-
born again Christian for a long time, but
Well, you
I'm
want
just
to make sure you
telling
break.
experience.
You want to make sure that agreement is broke. You're not
Yes.
going to die on that day. Only God in heaven knows and will decide as to when your time is. So you have to be careful with agreements. And I'm not pointing the finger at you. I'm saying everybody that's listening. You have to be really careful with making agreements or believing them. Like me and Dan talk about, sometimes you go to the doctor and the doctor says, "Oh well, you got this, and you ain't gonna make it but this much longer." And what happens? The people normally believe it, and then they die. But they're allowing the doctor to act as God and be God in their life, and they choose to believe it. And if you choose to believe something, what it is ultimately is black magic. Like if you have a little girl who's 10 years old and she's singing in church, and somebody tells her, well, somebody being mean, another one, little girl says, "You sound like crap. You shouldn't even sing." And that little girl maybe had a beautiful voice, or maybe could have been a beautiful singer, but if she believes that and she doesn't sing the rest of her life, she allowed just words, black magic, coming out of the mouth in order to curse her, which also has to do with why I tell people you cannot use curse words, because you are participating in black magic. You are trying, when you say GDU or you go to HELL, you're saying these things, you're trying to use words to hurt or damage somebody's life, which means you are participating in black magic, which is a sin. So, anyways, I get off on a tangent every now and then. You have to watch me. So go ahead and tell us the story about when you were.
So we all got scared, because we got scared from this for some reason. We didn't understand what we were doing. We thought it was a board game. So anyways, some things began to happen after we played with this board game. And for a long time, I believed that there was something under my bed. I never seen it. Well, I never felt it, but I knew something was there. And something was there. Okay, so later on, after we had gotten out of school that year, all of the kids in the neighborhood that we used to hang around with, we all showed up together in one spot for some strange reason, which had never happened. So we're just walking down the road and we're trying to think of something to do, because we were feral children back then. Okay, we went out the door and we were gone for the day.
Yeah, we did. Now children are in prisons, basically. They're stuck on. I mean, like I like to say, where are the children? I don't even see any children out anywhere anymore. Even I don't even hardly see school buses anymore. It's like the population of children has plummeted so much because of this agenda that they have going on. I mean, where are the children? I mean, you guys know what I mean?
When I was coming up in the 60s, everybody had 4 to 6 kids in their house.
Yeah, 7 in mine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And everybody, but now they're either having none, or either they've been affected so they can't have any, been sterilized, or their DNA's been altered and they believe that they're a man or a woman and a man and other stuff. And
Yes,
so
no, exactly.
it's all confusion and all depopulation agenda.
Yes.
And so if anybody ever asks you, are we in the end times? You just say, where are the children?
But if you
Because,
take a look, they've been mesmerized by the sky screen that we're talking across now.
yep,
And
absolutely.
so they're being guided through that sky screen into every abomination that they can be drawn to. So the kids that are there are not outside. They're not interacting with one another. They're mesmerized by the screen in front of them.
Magic mirror, mirror, mirror on the wall. Magic mirror, exactly.
Yes.
Like the bird out here the other day, he was mesmerized by the mirror on the car. He was
communicating.
Yeah.
That was a strange story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But Deborah, you did repent of dealing with that board, right?
I'm sorry?
You repented of ever messing with that Ouija board?
Oh, God, yes, yes. Yes, no.
It broke all curses that it may have brought to you, both recognized and unrecognized?
Well, no, the board was destroyed, and I did repent of all that, yes. And I draw close. My life revolves around worship every day.
Well, what Dan is kind of saying is sometimes we have to make sure that you need to sometimes take an extra step and break all of any agreements or curses that may have come upon you. You want to make a specific attention. Of course, this was a long time ago, but time doesn't matter in the element of the supernatural world. There is no time. So, and this is for me as well, to learn and understand that we have to make sure we give special attention when we look back and say, okay, I was doing this. You got to make sure that you've handled that and make sure it's done with, it's handled, and so that way it can't be coming back on you or affecting you, or maybe even your family, depending on the agreements that were made. Or
it becomes a doorway. And we go enter into those phases, different times and different things in our lives. We open a door and we go into those phases. We have to remember to close those doors because the door remains open.
Right.
And if we don't remember to go back and close those doors, whether it's soul ties, no matter what it is that you participated in, repenting of it, just make sure the doors are closed. That way they have no access to you whatsoever through that doorway.
Yeah, I'm going to do that again today, just to make
sure.
It
wouldn't hurt.
Because I'm worried about that too.
And if you think about any other things, not just you, Deborah, but anybody that happens to be watching anything that you participated with in the past, maybe you got kind of mixed in with this one group and they were doing some things and stuff, or maybe you just got mixed in with something. But no, you're not like that anymore, but you want to make sure that you've broken, and as Dan says, broken and bind all those things that may still be there to affect you because you haven't taken care of and closed those supernatural doors and gateways that we open and allow into our life because we're foolish and we make mistakes and we're young and dumb and all these things that we've all done. So yeah, anyways, go ahead, Deborah.
Oh, okay. So anyways, we're just hanging. I'm with a bunch of kids, and it was unusual for us to be together. And so we lived by an expressway, and it wasn't that far. So we were walking across the bridge, and we went down under the bridge, and we decided to play chicken in the road, right? Oh my God, yes. And the speed limits back then were 80 miles an hour, meaning they were going 90 and 100.
Wow.
Back then. So, anyways, I get out on the road to play chicken, and there is a big red truck, a big Mack truck, and it's bright red, and is coming at me. And I went to move my feet, and my body was moving. I couldn't move my feet. Something was holding my feet to the pavement. It was unbelievable. And I'm going, what is happening? My feet won't move. And the truck is speeding towards me 80 miles an hour. And God rescued me this day. So I'm looking at the cab driver as he's coming close, and he takes his hands off the wheel. He lifts his hands up towards heaven, and he's screaming because he's not going to be able to swerve around me. He's not going to be able to slow down. And it's coming at me. And at that moment, my body just relaxed when I saw him do that. And I opened my eyes, and I'm on the mountaintop now. I'm on this mountaintop, and it's flat. And I'm not in New York anymore. I believe I'm in the Middle East somewhere. And I'm looking around, and this is the highest mountain. And it kind of looks like you had some pictures on the website about trees that were leveled off.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the petrified remains of the giant trees that existed all over this world in the past. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what it reminded me of. So,
like Devil's Tower. If anybody's listening and hasn't heard of this information, go look up Devil's Tower. I think it's Arizona. I think, and you'll find a tree stump. And that's what it is. If you start investigating and looking at what the fibers of a tree look like, they're in hexagonal shape. They run down, and that's a tree stump with the root ball kind of showing a little bit. But anyways, go ahead, Deborah. You're on top of a plateau, it sounds like.
Yes, I'm on a plateau, and it's extremely high. And there's no people, there's no houses, there's nothing. There's nothing. But on one side, and there's this orange sand. And the only place I've seen orange sand, I looked on the internet, is in the Middle East. It's not orange, it's brownish orange. And I'm going, where the heck am I? And what happened to my body back there in front of the truck? So I'm going, and I'm looking around, and on one side of this mountain, there is boulders, giant boulders that are piled up on one side as though it's a fortification to push down those boulders in case someone tries to come up the mountain. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at. Now, all of a sudden, I'm standing there, and I see this beautiful man. He's scaling the mountain. He's scaled over top of these boulders, and he's dressed like Jesus Christ. He's wearing the garments of the Lord, and with the red sash across his chest, but he has this beautiful long blonde hair. And he was so beautiful, and he had blue eyes. And I was just freaking out. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on here. And
this is a vision you had that was triggered by you playing chicken with a Mack truck in the middle of a road when you were a child.
Yes, and I think that the truck driver tried to get me out of there. I think that he was asking them to come down and save me.
I imagine he was doing something like that, yeah.
Yes. So, anyways, he jumps off of these boulders, this beautiful person, and he's got this long blonde hair down to his hips. And I am not comprehending this at 10, and I never talked to anyone about this before. And he immediately walked towards me, and there was no communication. There was no time for communication. He walked towards me, and he turned me around, and he placed his hand on my back, and his hand wrapped around my shoulders, down to my waist, and he pushed me. So when he pushed me, I opened my eyes, and now I'm back in front of the truck. The truck is there. And I said, this is going to happen. Okay, I'm going back to the mountain. Okay, this is going to happen. So I'm relaxed, and all of a sudden I'm looking, the truck is maybe 10 feet from me, like at 80 miles an hour. And I see these lights, and we're going to talk about the whirlwind now. I see these lights come out from underneath the truck. And these lights begin spinning like cyclones, like little small cyclones.
Toroidal fields.
I'm sorry?
Like toroidal fields, like little cyclones, like little hurricanes.
Yes, they came out like little lights from underneath the front of the truck. See, all the air should have been going back, but this air was coming out from under the truck towards me. And it was in like the lights, they turned into little cyclones. And it created such a strong gust of wind that it pushed me out from the front of the truck. And I was so close to the truck that it created a vacuum and tried to pull me back under. But I was able to get away from it. And all my friends saw this. I got out of it.
So how did you, from what you remember, how was it that you got out from in front of the truck?
It was a strong wind. The lights came out and they created like this circular
Were you
wind.
conscious the whole time?
I'm sorry?
Were you conscious and aware of every moment as this was happening?
Yes. Yes.
Did things seem to slow down in slow motion?
No. I just felt like my body needed to relax. And the minute I relaxed, that's when the lights came out from under the truck and created a really strong wind that pushed me to the side of the truck out from the front of the truck.
And you've seen what you recollected as something that was, the lights themselves were toroidal in nature.
Yes, I saw that they were toroidal in nature. And that was the only way I got out of that. I
have
wouldn't
a feeling that things were in slow motion. You just didn't realize it.
Oh, possibly.
Because what you're describing is the toroidal nature kind of thing, and them being lights as you're describing an angel. And them intervening is what you're describing.
Yeah. It might have been in slow motion. Maybe that's how.
Remember how we said that how God exists in the storm, and God speaks out of the whirlwind. Remember how we were talking about that?
Yes.
Well, angels, they also are in the image of God, and they exist in toroidal fields as well. I've seen them many times, and they travel inside of a ball of light that if you get a chance to look at it very long, you'll see it spinning in on itself like this. And there's all these different colors, mainly white, but like what I've witnessed is you'll see purple, you'll see reds, you'll see, a lot of close to primary type colors and stuff. But it sounds like you're describing angels that intervened and pulled you out of the way.
Yeah, I think so, because they were pure white light. They were pure white light, and that's an impossible situation. I don't see how that's possible in any way for me to be saved from that unless God sent angels to do it.
It's supernatural. I mean, I've told stories on here that sound wilder than yours, where I've not to compete or anything, but just to give validity to what you're saying. I've been in situations where I was driving down the road, and this has happened in different ways a number of times. One time I was driving down the road, and I had 3 other guys in the car with me, 2 in the back, and 1 in the front seat with me, and I was driving. This was up in Kentucky. I was in the military, and I was about 21 years old. And I'm driving along, and it's nighttime. And we weren't drinking or anything. We were just out kind of riding. And driving along, about 50, 55 mile an hour, something like that. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed that the sign on the side of the road says, "The road goes this way," meaning it was the sign right there at the turn. I was supposed to turn and go to the right at a 90-degree angle. because there was no road going straight forward. Well, there wasn't any time left to make the turn, and I'm doing 50, 55 mile an hour. And so I seen it, I recognized it, and I started to react. But then what happened is everything went into slow motion, like just everything seemed to be slow. And then all of a sudden, my memory was not there. And I didn't hit my head because it didn't even wreck. But all of a sudden, I'm now back driving and I'm traveling down the road, still on the main road, but I had made that turn somehow. And all three of the guys that were in the car, I looked at them and said, how did we get around that turn? And not one of them said, well, they all said, I don't know. I said, how? Because back then I had no clue what was going on. I didn't realize it was an intervention by angels, the hand of God kind of thing. I made a 90-degree turn at 55 miles an hour, and it shouldn't be possible. But it's impossible. But it is possible because of the supernatural nature of our Father in heaven and of the angels that He has that watches over us. And so, yeah, that happened. Among many others.
It's amazing. It's hard to explain, but I got to have that. And you got to have that too.
But that's why this show is here, is because we want people to understand that there is a supernatural world out there and that it is real, it is there, and we want to try to help people understand it, especially because of the times that are coming here, very quickly coming, where things are going to get extremely supernatural. And there needs to be a place for people to be able to come and try to acquire some answers to some of this stuff. And you could say, luckily or unluckily, I've experienced a lot of supernatural things in my life where from my life being saved, from seeing angels with my own eyes over 100 times, like 130 times probably now, 130 different times. And some of these times there would be as many as 8 angels in that one time. I've seen as many as like 8 at once, or 7 or 8, right around in there. And if you wonder what I'm referring to, it's the balls of light that they want to talk like they're UFOs and they're aliens and all this nonsense. Or what typically a lot of times when you see videos online and stuff where they're showing this ball of light sitting above the mountain and it just disappears, or it might move off slowly, or it might turn and come back, or there might be multiples of them and there'll be one and then it'll start to fade and then another one will show up and it'll start to fade and then another one will show up. These are the hosts. These are our Father's angels that are around all the time. The big ones are very powerful angels, and then you have some smaller ones like that chose to come in Shannon's studio the other day. And
really?
She was in her closet after the show. She has a closet in her house that she does her little studio set up in. And right after the show, we were sitting talking, and all of a sudden this orb whipped around her right there in the closet, an orb of light, like a small, basically it's the appearance of an angel, I guess you'd say. And it swooped around her a couple of times.
Wow.
And yeah, we didn't catch it on film, but I saw it. And of course,
I saw it as well.
Did you see it, Dan, the flash coming across?
I saw both of them.
Yeah, I seen the second one too. They move kind of quickly sometimes. I've seen them, the big ones, like the size of a Volkswagen. I was standing at the beach one night and it flew over my head. I was looking up at the sky because I was there looking for angels. I was there looking up like this, and all of a sudden it flew over my head about 20 feet above my head, 15, 20 feet above my head. And as it went over, it was flying out over the ocean because I was facing the ocean. and right as it was flying over, pixie dust was floating down.
Wow.
What looked like pixie dust, it was like sparks, fire, as it flew over me like that. And I seen another one a few nights different from that one. I seen the one, I was standing in the same spot. It appeared right out in front of me over the water, about 40, 50 feet in front of me. It appeared, pop, there it is. Right before they appear, you'll see a spark, a little spark. And that's when they pierce the veil. And they come through and show themselves. And then they'll disappear. Or sometimes they'll fade kind of slowly and disappear. But this one, it appeared and was there for about a second or two. And then it started to fade. And right when it started to fade, a lightning bolt came out of it and struck the ocean. Talking about an archangel. Arc has to do with lightning, has to do with spark, arc, fire. Yep, a lightning bolt came out of it, struck the ocean. There was no sound, but I seen it. It was an arc that came out of it, basically, an arc with the ocean like that. Quite amazing, some of the things I've seen, and every word of it is as true as me sitting here. So I believe you, Deborah. I do believe you. And I want to thank you very much for being on the show today. We're approaching in on an hour and a half, so we're going to be wrapping up now. But Dan, do you have any thoughts you'd like to share before we start wrapping up?
Yes, in the cases where you're actually having visions, is the Lord reaffirming to you his presence that's with you always?
Yes.
He said he'd never leave us nor forsake us, no matter how dark the hour, no matter how terrible the situation. He'll always be with us. So I believe your story, and I think you're a very blessed young woman in the fact that no matter what you have transferred through, he's been there with you. We have all found those times when we felt that the Lord was distant from us. But he's a parent. And what that means is he's going to back off to get us to have more confidence as we walk toward him. More confident in who we are in him and who he is in us. So I just speak the Lord's blessings over you. If you have any difficulty in knowing how to close doors or break those kinds of things, just give me a holler. I'll be glad to walk you through it.
I think I'll do that. Thank you.
As a matter of fact, just to remind everybody, on the website, under the homepage, it's called TheSupernatural.Show. Under the homepage, you can go to Supernatural Consultations. And you can come to this page, and you can come down here. There's a lot of explanation here that you can look at, and it'll explain what this is all about, basically. But you can come here and click on Supernatural Consultations, book now, and you can book an hour consultation, just conversation with me, Dan, or Shannon. Either one of us, you can book an hour on here, and then you get to pick your own time, and we'll contact you and have a conversation with you and make sure, try to help you if we can. I mean, we can't fix everything, but we'll certainly do the best of our ability to help you with whatever it is that's going on. And but yep, we got that there on the website now, Supernatural Consultations. So anyone can go there and book that. You don't have to be a member of the website to go there and book a consultation and be able to talk with me, Dan, or Shannon. So, anything else, Mr. Dan, for today?
I think that covered it. Just speak blessings upon you and upon all those who are watching. May the Lord bring to light all those things that we have had hidden within us. Let the truth be known. Let us come to understand that everything is supernatural.
Indeed it is. Every breath you take, every time you wake up in the morning, it's all supernatural. This isn't it's not something we should be taking for granted, that's for sure. Because every breath you take is a gift, and it is supernatural. And we owe it all to our Father in heaven, and I'm sure He'd like to hear from you every once in a while, all of us. More so the better, I'd imagine. But Deborah, I'd like to thank you again for coming on and sharing some of your stories and testimony with us today. I greatly appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me. God
You're
bless
very
you.
welcome. And we'll never know. Might have you back on again sometime. Give us an update as to what's been going on. But for now, I reckon we'll call it the end of the show. And since Shannon ain't here today, we're not going to do the normal little song thing that we do at the end since she's not here with us. But with that being said, we'll see you guys. And Deborah, you can just hang around until the credits are done and everything, and we'll say our goodbyes after the show is not live anymore, okay? If you want to.
Okay.
All right. So with that being said, guys, we'll see you again soon right here on The Supernatural Show.
Thank you.